2 Kings, chapter 3. And Jehoram, son of Ahab, has reigned over Israel in Samaria, in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. And he reigns 12 years, and does evil in the eyes of Yahweh, only not like his father and like his mother. And he turns aside the standing pillar of Baal that his father made. Surely he has cleaved to the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, that he caused Israel to sin. He has not turned aside from it. And Mesha, king of Moab, was a sheep master, and he rendered to the king of Israel 100,000 lambs and 100,000 rams with wool. And it comes to pass at the death of Ahab that the king of Moab transgresses against the king of Israel. And King Jehoram goes out from Samaria in that day, and inspects all Israel, and goes and sends to Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, saying, The king of Moab has transgressed against me. Do you go with me to Moab for battle? And he says, I go up, as I, so you, as my people, so your people, as my horses, so your horses. And he says, Where is this that we go up? And he says, The way of the wilderness of Edom. And the king of Israel goes, and the king of Judah, and the king of Edom, and they turn around the way 7 days, and there has been no water for the camp and for the livestock that are at their feet. And the king of Israel says, Ah, for Yahweh has called for these 3 kings, to give them into the hand of Moab. And Jehoshaphat says, Is there not a prophet of Yahweh here, and we seek Yahweh by him? And one of the servants of the king of Israel answers and says, Here is Elisha, son of Shaphat, who poured water on the hands of Elijah. And Jehoshaphat says, The word of Yahweh is with him. And the king of Israel goes down to him, and Jehoshaphat, and the king of Edom. And Elisha says to the king of Israel, And what do I have to do with you? Go to the prophets of your father and to the prophets of your mother. And the king of Israel says to him, No, for Yahweh has called for these 3 kings, to give them into the hand of Moab. And Elisha says, Yahweh of hosts lives, before whom I have stood. For unless I am lifting up the face of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, I do not look to you, nor see you. And now bring a musician to me. And it has been at the playing of the musician that the hand of Yahweh is on him. And he says, Thus said Yahweh, Make this valley ditches, ditches. For thus said Yahweh, You do not see wind, nor do you see rain. And that valley is full of water, and you have drunk, you and your livestock and your beasts. And this has been light in the eyes of Yahweh, and he has given Moab into your hand. And you have struck every fortified city, and every choice city, and you cause every good tree to fall, and you stop all fountains of waters, and you mar every good portion with stones. And it comes to pass in the morning, at the ascending of the morning present, that behold, waters are coming in from the way of Edom, and the land is filled with waters. And all of Moab has heard that the kings have come up to fight against them, and they are called together, from every one girding on a girdle and upward, and they stand by the border. And they rise early in the morning, and the sun has shone on the waters, and the Moabites see from opposite them that the waters are red as blood, and say, This is blood. The kings have been surely destroyed, and that each strike his neighbor. And now for spoil, Moab. And they come to the camp of Israel, and Israel rises and strikes the Moabites, and they flee from their face. And they enter into Moab so as to strike Moab. And they break down the cities, and they each cast his stone on every good portion, and have filled it. And they stop every fountain of water, and they cause every good tree to fall, until one had left stones in Kir-Haraseth. And the slingers go around and strike it. And the king of Moab sees that the battle has been too strong for him, and he takes with him 700 men drawing sword, to cleave through the king of Edom, and they have not been able. And he takes his son, the firstborn who reigns in his stead, and causes him to ascend as a burnt offering on the wall. And there is great wrath against Israel, and they journey from off him, and return to the land.